Mentorship is not a luxury, it's a necessity for accelerated growth. A lot of people think they can go it alone, that if they just read enough books, listen to enough podcasts, or hustle hard enough, they'll eventually figure it out. And yes, self-education is powerful. Yes, you do need to show up every day and work your butt off. But if you're serious about scaling, not just improving slightly, but actually multiplying your results, you need someone who's already done it, who can show you the way. That's what mentorship is, and once you've experienced it, you realize how much time you were wasting before you had it. I used to think I was moving fast. I had goals, I had structure, I had drive, but I was also making a lot of the same mistakes over and over again. I couldn't see my blind spots because, by definition, you can't see your blind spots. That's what a mentor does. They hold up the mirror and say, here's what you're missing. And if you're someone who wants to grow, that moment, as uncomfortable as it is, becomes everything. Because now you have clarity. Now you know exactly where the gap is between where you are and where you want to be. Here's the thing though, mentorship is not soft, it's not hand-holding. A good mentor is not there to make you feel good. They are there to make you better. And if you're not ready to be called out, if you're not ready to have your habits, your thinking, and even your identity challenged, you're not ready for mentorship. Because the process of becoming who you want to be requires shedding the person you've been, and that is not easy. That's why mentorship is so valuable, because in those moments when your ego wants to retreat, when you're tempted to make excuses or justify your old patterns, a mentor pulls you forward. They don't let you settle. That's what happened to me. The reason I grew quickly in my career, the reason I learned to lead high-performance teams, to scale results, and to drive impact, it wasn't because I had all the answers. It was because I had access to someone who had already done it, who had built it, who had made the mistakes and knew what not to do. I didn't have to guess. I didn't have to hope. I could execute with certainty because I was operating off of proven strategy, not trial and error. You don't just get mentorship by asking for it. You earn it. You earn it by being coachable, by showing up with hunger, by putting in the work consistently even when no one is watching. The fastest way to attract a mentor is to become someone worth mentoring. You have to be able to take feedback, real feedback, not just the nice kind. You have to show that you're not just interested in success, you're committed to it. That's the difference. And when you do earn that relationship, everything accelerates. You start making decisions faster. You stop getting stuck in the same cycles. You take bigger swings with more confidence because you're not guessing, you're executing from experience that's been transferred to you. It's like collapsing time. What might take someone 10 years to figure out on their own, you can do in 2 or 3 with the right mentor. But mentorship also expands your belief system. When you're operating in isolation, your goals are based on what you think is possible. A mentor has a much bigger lens. They've seen more, done more, built more. So when they speak possibility into you, they're not hyping you up, they're showing you what's actually real. And that mindset shift alone can change your entire trajectory. So no, mentorship is not a luxury. It's not something you get around to when things are easy or convenient. It's a necessity. If you're trying to play at a high level, and I mean truly high, not just surviving but scaling, leading, building something that lasts, you need someone ahead of you to help you do that. Period. Because the truth is, you don't know what you don't know. And the sooner you stop pretending that you have to figure it all out by yourself, the faster you'll get to where you actually want to be. You said, the right mentor doesn't coddle you, they challenge you. Expend 700 words without heading. ChatGPT said, the right mentor doesn't coddle you, they challenge you. And that's exactly why it works. If you're looking for someone to validate you, to tell you you're doing great when you're not, or to sugarcoat the truth, you're not looking for a mentor, you're looking for comfort, and comfort doesn't create growth. Growth requires pressure, it requires friction, it requires truth, the kind of truth that stings when you hear it, but sticks with you long enough to change how you operate. A real mentor tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. That's the difference between someone who helps you feel better and someone who helps you get better. When I first started learning what it meant to be challenged by a mentor, I didn't always love it. There were moments I felt completely exposed. I would come to the table thinking I had done everything right, and then I'd get feedback that forced me to reevaluate not just what I did, but how I thought. And that's the point. A mentor is not there to applaud your effort, they are there to push your standards. Because if you're really going to lead, if you're really going to scale, you can't operate at a 7 when your business requires a 10. A mentor sees the gap between your current habits and your future goals, and they are relentless in helping you close that gap. But here's the thing: challenge doesn't feel good in the moment, it feels like pressure. It feels like your ego taking a hit, and for a lot of people, that's where they tap out. They decide that mentorship is too intense or not for them. But what they're really saying is they're not ready to be uncomfortable. And that's what it takes. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable, you're not ready to grow, because growth is, by nature, uncomfortable. It forces you to confront all the places where you've been coasting, all the excuses you've justified, all the ceilings you've placed on yourself. The right mentor will not let you play small. They'll question your logic, challenge your assumptions, and call you out on your inconsistencies. And not because they're trying to tear you down, but because they believe in what you're capable of. You don't challenge someone you don't care about. You don't invest energy into someone you think is average. When a mentor challenges you, it's because they see something in you that you're not fully owning yet. They're willing to fight for your potential even when you're not, and that's powerful, but only if you're ready to receive it. You have to be willing to detach from needing praise. You have to be more interested in progress than in approval. You have to understand that being held to a high standard is a privilege, because most people will let you coast. Most people won't say anything when you underdeliver. Most people will give you a pass not because they care, but because it's easier. A mentor doesn't do what's easy. They do what's necessary, and sometimes what's necessary is uncomfortable feedback, direct correction, and raising the bar again and again until you rise to it. In my own experience, the most transformative moments in my growth didn't come from applause, they came from correction. The moments when I thought I was crushing it, and my mentor looked at me and said, "That's not good enough," not out of judgment, but out of belief. And that shift from seeking approval to seeking mastery changed everything for me. I stopped tying my value to how good I felt in the moment and started tying it to the impact I was creating. I started asking better questions, doing deeper work, and pushing myself in ways I never had before. If you're constantly hearing "you're doing amazing, sweetie," you're not being mentored, you're being pacified, and that might feel good short term, but it doesn't get you where you want to go. The right mentor is going to challenge your thinking, your systems, your pace, your clarity, your follow through everything, and instead of taking it personally, you'll learn to take it seriously. You'll start to crave that challenge because you'll see what it produces. You'll realize that growth isn't supposed to feel safe, it's supposed to feel stretching. So if you're looking for someone to tell you you're doing great no matter what, you're not ready for a mentor. But if you're ready to be pushed, if you're ready to be uncomfortable, to be called out, to be sharpened, then you're ready. Because the right mentor is not your fan, they're your force, the one who pulls more out of you than you thought you had. The one who won't let you settle, the one who challenges you until you rise. You said you attract mentorship when you show up with hunger, humility, and hustle. Expend 700 words without heading, ChatGPT said. You attract mentorship when you show up with hunger, humility, and hustle. People often think that if they just ask the right person nicely enough or network hard enough, they'll land a great mentor, but that's not how it works. Mentorship isn't something you're given because you want it, it's something you earn by the way you show up. No one wants to invest time, energy, and wisdom into someone who isn't all in. The people who attract the best mentors aren't necessarily the most talented, they're the most coachable. They're the ones who bring undeniable energy, who are eager to learn, who ask smart questions, who take action before they're told. That's hunger. Hunger is what gets you in the room. It's the drive that says, I don't know everything, but I'll do whatever it takes to learn. It's showing up early, staying late, asking for feedback, and implementing it fast. It's having a deep desire to grow, not just in theory, but in practice. A hungry person doesn't wait to be told what to do, they figure it out. They take initiative and they take ownership. That energy is magnetic because when you're around high-performing people, they can feel your hunger, and if they see that you're serious, they start to lean in. They start to notice, and if you keep showing up like that day after day, that's when the door to mentorship opens. But hunger alone isn't enough. You also need humility, because if you think you already know everything, no one can help you. Humility is what allows you to hear hard truths. It's what keeps you open to correction instead of defensive. It's what allows you to grow at a rapid pace because you're not attached to being right, you're committed to getting better. I've seen so many people miss out on incredible opportunities because they couldn't take feedback. Their pride got in the way, and pride will always block progress. A mentor isn't looking for someone perfect, they're looking for someone moldable, someone who can take instruction, apply it quickly, and keep coming back for more. That requires humility. Humility is also about knowing your value, but not needing to prove it. When you're humble, you don't pretend to be further along than you are. You're honest about where you're at. You don't fake it to impress someone, you bring your real self, your real effort, and your real willingness to evolve, and that realness builds trust. Because when a mentor sees that you're not posturing or pretending, they can actually help you. They can see where you're strong and where you need support. That's when growth happens fast, but only if you're willing to drop the ego and be open. Then there's hustle, because all the hunger and humility in the world won't matter if you don't take action. Hustle means you execute. You don't just talk about your goals, you pursue them daily. You do the work even when no one's watching. You take what you've been given and you maximize it. A mentor doesn't want to waste time repeating themselves to someone who doesn't follow through. They want to know that if they invest in you, you're going to multiply that investment, that you're going to take the insight and run with it, that you're going to implement, iterate, and improve. That's what hustle looks like. It's not about being busy. It's about being intentional. It's about doing the right things consistently with urgency and excellence. It's about showing results, because when you start producing, people notice. And when you combine results with the right attitude, hunger, humility, hustle, that's when real mentorship becomes possible. That's when the people ahead of you start to invest their time, not because you asked, but because you earned it. I've been on both sides. I've been the person seeking mentorship, and I've also mentored others. And I can tell you with complete certainty, the ones who grow the fastest are the ones who show up with that trio: hunger, humility, and hustle. They listen well, they move fast, and they own everything. They don't wait for permission. They don't get discouraged easily. They stay focused, stay consistent, and stay open. And because of that, they create momentum, and mentors love momentum. So if you're wondering why you haven't attracted a mentor yet, ask yourself, am I really showing up with all three? Am I hungry for growth, or am I comfortable where I am? Am I humble enough to receive real feedback? And am I hustling daily to execute on what I already know? When you get all three aligned, mentorship doesn't feel forced, it becomes inevitable, because the people who are already where you want to be, they're watching, and when they see someone who reminds them of where they once were, someone who's ready, willing, and already doing the work, they'll show up for you, but only if you've shown up first. You said, having a mentor helped me collapse time in my leadership and business journey, expend 700 words without heading, Chat GPT said. Having a mentor helped me collapse time in my leadership and business journey in a way that I didn't even know was possible when I started. People always talk about learning through experience, and yes, there's value in that, but it's slow, it's messy, and sometimes it's expensive. You can absolutely figure things out on your own. You can spend years testing strategies, trying new methods, reading all the books, and attending all the seminars, but that process takes time, a lot of it. And when you're serious about building something big, when you're leading people and trying to scale something meaningful, time is the one thing you can't afford to waste. That's where mentorship changes everything, because it collapses the timeline between where you are and where you want to go. Instead of spending 5 years making the same mistakes someone else already made, you get to learn from their experience. You get their playbook, you get access to the decisions, frameworks, and insights they've already proven, and when you actually apply that information, it accelerates everything. You make better choices faster. You avoid pitfalls that would have cost you months or even years, and that kind of clarity gives you the edge. In my own leadership journey, I didn't realize how many limiting beliefs I had until a mentor challenged them. I thought I had to have everything figured out before I led others. I thought I had to move cautiously, be perfect, make sure every single thing was dialed in before making decisions. But the truth is, leadership is not about perfection, it's about decisiveness. It's about direction. It's about making progress, even when you don't have every answer. A mentor helped me see that. They helped me build confidence through action instead of waiting for it to magically show up. That shift alone moved me forward 10 times faster, and it wasn't just mindset, it was systems. Leadership at scale is not about being the best at everything. It's about creating systems that allow your team to thrive without you doing all the work. I didn't learn that from a book. I learned that from someone who had built those systems, tested them, refined them, and lived through the outcomes. Instead of trying to invent it all from scratch, I got to implement proven models, hiring processes, communication cadences, performance review structures, all of it. And every time I took one of those frameworks and made it work inside my business, I gained time. I gained clarity and I gained leverage. That's what mentorship gives you, leverage. You stop trading hours for lessons, and instead you trade questions for answers. You trade ego for speed, you trade trial and error for guidance. And the compound effect of that is massive. You become more effective in meetings, you lead your team with more confidence, you make decisions with less hesitation, you start operating like a real executive, not just someone trying to survive the chaos of growth. It also helped me stop chasing distractions. When you don't have mentorship, everything feels equally important. Every new idea looks like a good one, but when you have someone ahead of you who can look at your goals and say, "That's noise, focus here," it's a game changer. I saved so much time by not pursuing ideas that would have taken me sideways instead of forward. A mentor helps you focus, and focus is where real acceleration lies. But none of this happens if you don't execute. A mentor can only shorten the timeline if you're willing to act on what they give you, and I was relentless about that. I showed up to every conversation ready, I took notes, I asked specific questions. And most importantly, I implemented fast. I wasn't looking for motivation. I was looking for mastery, and I knew that meant I had to apply what I learned immediately. That's how you collapse time. You don't just listen, you move. You test, you refine, you get feedback, and you go again. Leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing who to learn from and how fast you can apply what they give you. That's the shortcut. That's the leverage. That's the advantage that mentorship gave me. I didn't skip steps. I just didn't have to guess at everyone. I didn't avoid hard work. I just focused my work on the right things. And when you do that consistently, the speed at which you grow changes everything. So yes, I could have figured it out eventually, but mentorship took eventually off the table and replaced it with now. It turned uncertainty into confidence, it turned chaos into clarity, and it made me a better leader faster. That's what it means to collapse time, not to avoid the work, but to accelerate through it, because you're no longer doing it alone. You said, without a mentor, your vision stays small with one. It becomes scalable. Expend 700 words without heading, ChatGPT said. Without a mentor, your vision stays small with one. It becomes scalable. It's not because you don't have big ideas or ambition, it's because your frame of reference is limited. You only know what you know, and what you know is based on your experience, your exposure, and your current capacity. You might dream of building something great, of leading a powerful team, or creating real impact, but without someone who has already built what you're trying to build, it's easy to cap your potential without even realizing it. You build based on what you think is realistic instead of what's actually possible. That's what I experienced in my own growth journey. I had goals, I had drive. I knew I wanted to lead and build, but I didn't have a true model for what was scalable. I was thinking small and calling it big because at the time it felt big. I was busy. I was working hard, but I didn't know how to multiply. I didn't know how to structure systems, lead through complexity, or think in terms of scale. That kind of thinking doesn't come from Google searches or guesswork. It comes from mentorship. A mentor gives you a completely different lens. They've already done the thing you're trying to do. They've faced the obstacles. They've solved the problems. They know what matters and what's a distraction. And when you're able to get in proximity to that kind of experience, your entire mindset shifts. You go from asking, "Can I really do this?" to "What would it take to do this 10 times bigger?" You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You start making decisions that support scale, not survival. Without a mentor, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing everything yourself. You hold onto tasks you should be delegating. You micromanage out of fear instead of building leaders who can own outcomes. You stay stuck in the weeds because that's where it feels safe. And because you're stuck working in the business, you never really get time to work on the business. That's the cost of not having mentorship. You stay busy, but you don't grow. You hustle harder, but the ceiling stays the same. Mentorship changed all of that for me. It helped me stop operating like a manager and start operating like a visionary. It helped me stop building systems that revolved around me and start building ones that could scale without me. That doesn't mean I stepped back or disengaged, it means I leveled up. I learned how to lead with clarity, how to create culture intentionally, and how to drive results through others. And I learned that because someone ahead of me had already mastered it, and they were willing to teach me what they knew. But here's what most people miss: a mentor doesn't give you vision. You still have to have that for yourself. What they do is help you expand it. They help you see where you're thinking too small, where you're limiting yourself, where you're solving problems that don't actually matter. They challenge your assumptions. They help you see around corners, and because they've already been there, they can paint a clearer picture of what's actually possible. That kind of insight doesn't just give you a bigger goal, it gives you a better path to get there. A scalable vision requires scalable thinking, and scalable thinking requires input from people who have already done it. That's why mentorship is so critical. It's not just about advice, it's about elevation. It's about being around someone who won't let you settle for good enough, someone who sees the bigger version of your vision, the one you haven't even fully stepped into yet, and pushes you toward it. That kind of push is uncomfortable, but it's necessary, and when you start thinking at scale, everything changes. The way you hire changes, the way you communicate changes, the way you spend your time changes. You stop chasing opportunities that don't align. You get clearer, faster, and more effective. You build systems that support growth, and you empower people around you to lead with you. And none of that happens by accident. It happens because someone helped you think differently. Without mentorship, you might still build something good, but with it, you can build something great, something that outlives you, something that multiplies without you having to carry the entire load forever. That's the power of scalable vision, and that's why mentorship is non-negotiable if you're serious about leading at a high level. Because until someone shows you what's actually possible, you'll keep aiming for what's familiar, and that's not where legacy lives.